Good morning. Today's session we are going to discuss RMAN recovery scenarios. This is the fourth session in a series of RMAN backup and recovery. In this particular session, we are going to see various scenarios and how to restore and recover our database with the available backups. So I'm going to discuss various scenarios. This is the agenda of this particular session. We were going to see all these various scenarios. How do we restore and recover our database using the available backups? So all these scenarios, some scenarios are complete recovery scenarios, and some scenarios are incomplete recovery scenarios. So as and when we discuss the scenarios, I'll let you know what is a complete recovery scenario, what is incomplete recovery scenario. So for now, these are the different scenarios I'm going to discuss. I'll take one by one and I'll explain the issue, how to identify the issue and how to resolve the issue, and finally how to verify the resolved issue. Okay, first let me explain you the environment that we have. So I have a database called ORCL. So this is the one session I am using. There is the next session which I am using only for RMAN commands. These two servers, these two sessions belong to the same server, which is my actual database. The database is ORCL. So this is my database, and I am using a third server, third session, which is where my RMAN catalog database is running. So for this particular session, I am using a catalog database for my RMAN data for my database backups. Okay, so this session, the first session, I am using exclusively for operating system commands and SQL commands. The second session I am using for executing RMAN commands. These two, for session 1 and session 2, belong to my actual database server, and there is a third server, third session. This belongs to RMAN catalog database. This is a different server. Okay, my database, RMAN catalog database, is RMANDB. So these are the different sessions I'm going to use in this session. And coming to the backups, let me connect to the RMAN and I'll show you the backups that I have. So these are the backups that I have. I actually created this environment yesterday. So after creating the environment, I took a backup. This is a full backup. And as a part of this backup, I also have the control file and archive logs backed up as a part of this complete backup. And I'm going to use this backup for various recovery scenarios. So I'm also listing my database incarnation. Incarnation is something like when we open the database with the reset logs, it starts a new incarnation. So at the end, I might be taking some 5 minutes of time to explain you what is incarnation, what is the impact of incarnation. This comes when we are this part comes when we are discussing about incomplete recovery. So incarnation plays a major role when we are discussing incomplete recovery. During that part, we will discuss what is incarnation and what is the impact of incarnation. So as of now, these are the backup details that I have, and let me take you to scenario-based scenario. So the first scenario that we are discussing is see here, complete database restore. Okay, For each scenario, I'm differentiating into different tasks. So this is a test environment where the actual issue is not there, but we have to create the actual scenario, and we need to identify the actual scenario, and then we need to resolve the issue, and finally we have to make sure that the issue is resolved. So as a part of each scenario, I'm going to explain 4 sections. The first section is creating an issue. So we have to manually create an issue because in a real-time scenario, it might be accidentally happening, but you need to identify. So the second section is identifying the issue. How do you identify what is the exact issue that leads you to restore the database? And the third section, I'm going to explain for the issue what is the exact restore and recovery solution that you need to adapt. And the final section will be the verification. So after successfully restoring and recovering, you will verify whether your database is up and running and the issue is resolved or not. So these are the 4 various sections I'm going to take up as part of each scenario discussion. Okay, now first take up the scenario 1. This is complete database restore. Okay, when I'm going to complete database restore, first let me explain when do we go for complete database restore and recovery. Suppose in my database I'm not sure there is something happened and that actually resulted my database, I'm not able to access my database, and something wrong happened with my database. As a DBA, I identified that I'm not able to access any data, and I'm not sure what exactly happened with the database. Okay, if you are able to identify the issue, then the recovery solution that you need to adopt is also very easy. So for that purpose, now I'm going to delete some of the database files, and after deleting that, we need to identify that some of the data files in the database were accidentally deleted or corrupted, something like that. So first, let me give you this some comments just to show you the environment details. So this is my database. So my database is now up and running, and it is opened with read-write mode. My database is in archive log mode, and now the present sequence that is running is 361. So for verification purposes, I'm going to use one schema, Scott. So the data in Scott schema is accessed. If I'm able to access the Scott schema, then my database is successfully my database is up and running and it is valid. But if I'm not able to access my Scott schema, then there is something wrong with my database, because all the scenarios I'm going to delete data that belongs to the Scott schema. So let me see whether I'm able to connect it to a Scott schema. So I'm able to connect to Scott schema. Let me also see some of the data available with the Scott schema. Okay. Okay. So now I'm able to successfully query the data that is with the Scott schema. Okay. Now now this is okay. The preliminary checks, but that to make sure that my database is fine. Everything is fine. Now I'm going to create an issue. So so for creating an issue, I'm going to delete my data files. So let me go to the data files location because I know where is the data files location. But for you, if you want to know, you can query DBA data files query to know the data files location. Okay. So this is the place where I have all my DBF files. So now I'm going to create an issue. That means I'm going to drop all my DBF files. But in my in the actual real-time scenario, it might be 1 DBF file or 2 DBF files, or the DBF file that belongs to different table spaces. The scenario might be anything. But if you lost some of the DBF files, then you need to go for the complete database recovery. If the loss of DBF file that belongs to only one table space, or if the DBF that we lost is only one, then you need to identify that you lost only one DBF file. Then you will be able to restore and recover only that particular DBF file. But here, this is a complete database recovery, so I'm going to delete multiple DBF files in my database. Okay. Okay, now I deleted all my DBF files. Let me verify. Okay, now I lost all my DBF files. Now let me go and see my database, whether I'm able to query my data or not. Okay, now I'm able to connect to Scott schema. Let me also see the data. Okay, see, I'm still getting my data. Select star from GPT. Okay. Let see here. There is one question for me. I deleted complete DBF files. I do not have any DBF files, but all my database data is in DBF files. But I deleted all my DBF files. But where is how I'm able to get this particular data? I'm able to get this particular data from the cache. Because just before dropping the DBF files, I queried these particular tables, and so this data has been in SGA, and now when I'm querying this particular data, I'm able to get this data from the SGA cache memory. So as long as this data is available in SGA, you will be able to see this data. Now, for the purpose of showing you the issue, I just want to clear the cache, shared full cache. I'm connected to Scott. Let me connect to system. Okay. Okay, now I cleared my cache. Now let me query the tables again. Okay. Now if you see, when I'm trying to query my database data, it is showing me some issue that it cannot identify data file 1 and it cannot identify system data file. But there are so many other files also missing. But initially it is trying to see the system DBF files. That is why it is giving me this error. So now the issue is clear. Now I need to see whether my database is still up and running or not. Okay, still my database is up and running. So what I have to do now, I have to now restore and recover my database from the backups available. So for that, I need to first see whether I can restore and recover my database when my database is up and running. There are various situations that you need to understand, that what are the situations that you need to bring down the database and then restore and recover the database, and what are the situations that you need to do restore and recover when database is up and running. So when the loss of DBF files involves a system DBF file, there is no other option that you have to shut down the database and then restore and recover the database. But if you lost any data file that belongs to non-system data file, then you can do an online restore and recovery. Online restore and recovery means you can just do all the restore and recover operations when the database is up and running, and when the other users are accessing the data that belongs to the other data files that is not missing in the database. So for now, our scenario, we lost all the DBF files, which involves system DBF file as well. So the only option that I have is I first need to shut down my database and then restore and recover my database. So I'm just trying to shut down my database. Okay. Now I intentionally executed this command shut immediate. So when I'm doing shut immediate, I'm not able to shut down my database. This is just because when I'm trying to shut down my database, the SCN number should be marked on all the DBFS because this is a graceful shutdown. But I do not have the system DBFS, neither I have all the other DBFS. So the database is not able to write its current SCN number before shutting it down the database. That is why it is complaining that it cannot access the DBF file. Now, the only option that I have is I need to shut my database with abort option. Okay, now my database is down. Now, I need to start my database with Uh, yeah, actually, because I know that I need to bring my database to Mount Stage, I can use various options to bring my database to Mount Stage. But I normally bring my database to Mount Stage before actually restoring. But in various other sessions, I got a question from different users that just how do I know that I need to keep my database in Mount Stage or no Mount Stage? But just to avoid and to answer that question, I'm just using the startup option. It will internally bring the database to the mount stage. I'm not specifically bringing the database to no mount or mount stage. I'm trying to open my database, but somewhere it brings me my database to a mount stage, and then it will complain that it has some problem. Now see, if you see this error, I'm not able to bring my database to an open state because the database is in started and it came to mounted stage, but I'm not able to open my database just because I have some missing DBF files. Now I should go for restore and recover operation. Now this is my RMAN session. Now here I'm just trying to connect it to my RMAN. Okay. Now I connected to RMAN using a catalog database. Now I'm going to issue the commands which I use for restoring and recovering my database. So compared to the manual restore and recover operations, the restore and recovery operations are the commands that we use in RMAN are so simple, and you will easily get that what you are doing by just seeing the commands. So I'm just using restore database, recover database, and closing it. The different things that you need to observe when you are trying to restore your database is what is the backup piece that it is picking up. It is not mandatory, but in case if you are going with uh, uh, point in time recoveries, or if you are trying to restore your database to a past time, or if you are going to if you have some multiple backups available and you're trying to restore your database from old backup, not from the latest backup available. During that time, you can just identify the backup set mentioned here. So, is it picking up the right backup set that you actually wanted to restore, or is it picking up a latest backup set? That way, you can identify. So let's wait for 2 minutes. It might be it is on average taking 2 to 5 minutes. But as of now, the server is good. Would not have any performance issues as of now. Okay. Now the restore and recovery part is complete. but still my database is in mount state. I need to bring my database to open state. Alter database. So now my database is open. Now let me see if I'm able to access my test data. Yes, I'm able to access. Okay, now I'm able to successfully access test data. So this is the verification steps. Let me also see whether my database is in read-write mode or not. Okay, so the verification steps are also done. I mean, I'm successfully able to verify that all my DBA files are restored. And let me also verify here. See, I got all my DBA files. Okay, so this is the first scenario. If we lost complete DBA files, how do we restore and recover my database? Okay. Now the next scenario. So we'll discuss next scenario. The next scenario is system data file. Suppose if I lost my system data file, how do I restore and recover my database? Okay. Okay. First, let me verify my system. Okay, this is my system DBA file. In the earlier case, we deleted complete DBA files. It includes all the Oracle database data also. But now I'm deleting only system DBA file. The purpose of system DBA file in Oracle database is different, and it stores not the actual user data, but the data that belongs to the Oracle. So when I lost this particular DBA file, as I told you earlier, I need to bring down the database and then start and then restore and recover my database and then need to open it. So there is no online approach that I can restore and recover when the users are accessing the other data. So let me first create the issue. So I'm now deleting my system DBA file. I deleted it. Okay. See, actually, I'm even not able to connect to database also. Okay. So now my purpose is I need to bring down my database. So I can just do it by just killing my database. Okay. So this is my database running. Let me kill it. I mean to say that I am forcefully shutting down my database. Okay. Now there is no database running. Now let me start my database. Okay, so this is complaining that it cannot access the system DB file, so it is not able to open my database. Let me execute some command. Okay. So these are the DBF files that I have. I just use this query to find the locations of my DBF files, and also I want to show you the status that is with the system DBF file. If you see the status, it is now system. All other DBF files, they are with the status of online. Okay. So if I'm trying to query this DB table spaces, it is not allowing me because my database is now in mount stage. Okay, now we created issue and now we identified the issue as well. The issue is that we lost system DBF file and now we need to recover this system DBF file. So as a DBF, we all know that always the system DBF file is assigned a data file number of 1. So data file number 1 is always a system DBF file in Oracle database. Okay, now let's go and resolve this issue. So for resolving this issue, I need to connect to the RMAN. So I'm connected to RMAN now. Now I'm executing restore and recover commands. So I'm just using data file 1. I'm not specifying the complete data file name because we can refer data files in a database using the data file number as well. So in the recovery operation, as I know that the data file number 1 belongs to system data file, I'm directly using data file number 1. Okay, so from scenario to scenario, I'm just giving various options that you have. In the earlier scenario, I tried to open database after restore and recover operation by going to the SQL command, but being in the RMAN session itself, you will be able to open your database. So this is the way how you will execute SQL command from RMAN prompt. Now, if you see the session log here, it is trying to restore system DBF file, and the backup is also from the valid backup. Now, data file restore and recovery is complete. Now, if you see alt database open, my database is also open. Now, let me go and verify whether my database is now up and running. Okay, so for verification, I'm just using okay. So all my files are online. Let me also verify the other query. Okay, so now my system table space is fine. It is online, and all my data files, and particularly the system data file, is also in a valid status. Okay, so now for scenario 2 also the verification steps are completed. So this is how we restore and recover if we lose a system DBF file. Okay. Okay, so that ends second scenario. Now I'm going to take up a third scenario. So in the third scenario, the scenario is if we lose any DBF file is that does not belong to system. I mean to say a non-system DBF files. So there might be various DBF files that exist in the database. Okay, so uh, except this DBF file, there might be so many other DBF files that are available in database. In case if I lost any of these DBF files, and what is the procedure that I need to adapt, and how I will be able to restore and recover. Do I need to bring down my database and do the restore and recovery as we did in system DBF file missing, or is there any other approach that being a database online, should I be able to restore and recover my database? So that is the thing that I want to discuss here. Okay, now for the issue creation, I'm going to delete users DBF file. So users DBF file that belongs to users tablespace. But now first, as we are discussing with the DBF files, let's complete with the DBF files restore and recover. Then we will talk about the tablespace restore and recovery. So this is the third scenario in which I'm going to delete one of the non-system DBF files. Okay. Now let me delete this file. Okay, there is no users DBF files now. Now let me go and see how I will be able to identify that I lost my users DBF file. Okay. Now as I executed earlier, see here the status of the users table space, users data file, it is still showing me online. Let's see how to avoid and how to identify the issue now. So by just querying this, I will not be able to identify that I lost the users DBF file. And let me also query another one. Okay, so in this query, I'm trying to get the status of the file as well as the table space to which this particular DBF file belongs. Okay, now let me now query the data that belongs to Scott. Okay. Now see the issue here. Now when I'm trying to query the data that is in user's DBF file, I'm getting an error saying that it cannot find the DBF file, DBF file 4. So it is not able to find user's DBF file. Okay, maybe it is just by querying the data. Maybe if you're trying to create some table in the same schema, during that time also it might be giving you the same error saying that it cannot identify user's DBF file. Okay, now let me see my database status now. Okay, now my database is up and running and everything is fine, but only thing is I am not able to access the data of the Oracle database that belongs to the users DBF file. But if I try to query any other data that belongs to any of the other table spaces, let's suppose if I want to query any data that is in example DBF file, I'll be able to query. The only issues with the data in users DBF file. Now, let me go to the RMAN session and show you how do we restore and recover this one. So the only thing that you need to observe from the previous scenarios is in this particular scenario, I am not shutting down the database. So that means the users are connected to the database, and the users should be able to query data that belongs to any other table spaces or DBF files except the data that belongs to the users DBF file. Okay. Now I know that the DB file number is 4, so I'm going to use this number during the restore and recovery operation. So let me connect it to RMAN. Restore data file 4, recover data file 4. Because here my database is up and running, I don't need to use any alter database open as I used in the previous scenario. This is an restore and recover operation which I am doing when my database is up and running. So let me execute this query because I want to show you some error when I am doing this operation. Okay. If you see the error message here, it is saying that cannot obtain exclusive enqueue for DB file data file 4. I mean, this particular error is a valid error. Just because I lost my DBF file. It is a physical DBF file that exists in database, but database is database automatically identifying the loss of DBF file or not? So because when I query the DBF file location, the database is still sensing that it is online. So it still treats that the DBF file is online, and when I try to restore and recover that data file which is online, it is giving this sort of error. So now what I have to do in order to restore and recover my data file. So go to the SQL session where I have my database. Now here I use alter database data file for offline. So by using this command, I am just making my data file which is having issue in offline, so that I should be able to access all other data. Let me query now. Okay. Now if you see the status here, it is showing a recover. Now the database knows, okay, something wrong went with this particular DBF file, and it needs a recovery. So the status indicates that the DBF file needs recovery before it is being brought online. Because in this particular scenario, we actually manually created this issue, and we were not able to see this immediately. But in the real-time scenario, whenever you are querying this particular view, and if you find any data file that is in recover status, that particular DBF file needs recovery. So this is the way how you will identify the data file that needs recovery. Let me also execute this one. Okay, so the earlier query I am using $$ data file and the status is recover. Okay, now I am using DBA data files query, and the status is now showing available. Okay, so you need to identify the difference between the status that is shown in $$ data file and DBA data files. So always it is suggestible to query the status from the $$ data file instead of DBA data file, because $$ data file gives you the exact and the correct status of the DBF file. Okay. Now let me query. Let me see the other one. Okay, this is in recovery mode. Now let me see my database status. So it is still up and running, and only my DBF file 4 is in offline status. Now let me go back to my RMAN session and let me try to execute the same sort of command. So as I executed earlier, here I am using another SQL command, alt database. Here I am not trying to open the database. I am trying to bring up a data file which is made online from the SQL session. So after complete restore and recover for the data file 4, I should be able to bring my data file to online. So these are the different steps that I use to restore and recover my DBF file. Okay, now my restore and recover operation is complete. Now my data file is also online. So let me verify this from the SQL session. Okay, now this is available. See here, earlier the status is recover. Now the status is online. Let me also query data because we identified this issue by querying the Scott schema. Okay, now I'm able to query Scott schema. Let me also try to create some table because these are all the verification steps that I do after restoring, and because I restored and recover user table space, that is why I'm trying to create a table in user table space. Okay, now I'm successfully able to query data that exists in user table space, and as well as I'm able to create some table in user table space, which in which I have the users DBF file. So these are the verification steps after restoring and recovering the last non-system DBF file. So this is online method. In this scenario, we have not shut down any DB services. We have made only DBF file offline and then try to restore and recover, then we are fine. So this is called online method. So there is a offline method as well to restore and recover the last non-system DBF file. Okay, I just want to show that scenario as well because let me explain the actual real-time scenario. Okay, so this completes third scenario, but before taking up the fourth scenario, I want to just give you this explanation. So in a real-time scenario, whenever you lost any DBF files, as long as the users querying the data that resides in the DBF file are complaining that they are not able to query the data, they are getting some error when they try to query the data, the DBA may not be knowing that they lost some DBF files and the database needs some recovery. Okay, but because this is only some users that are complaining that they are not able to query data, but different other users who belong to the other table spaces, they are not complaining that they're very much fine accessing the data. So during that situation, it is the DBA's responsibility to find what is the exact issue, and is it a physical DBA file missing or something else. Okay, so if it is a database which consists of like let's say some hundreds of DBA files, then it is really very tough task for DBAs to identify manually by just verification which DBA file he lost it. Okay, but in the previous scenario, we know that when we try to query the data from the Scott EMP table, we got a message saying that he lost DBA file 4. Suppose there might be some other DBA file, or we do not know exact DBA file which we lost. Okay, so the obvious solution for us is try to shut down the database and start the database again. Then when you're trying to start the database, it will complain you that okay, this is the data file missing, and you need to identify the missing data file, and then you need to make it offline and do restore and recover. Then you should be fine. So the only difference between the previous scenario and the present scenario is shutting down the database and trying to start the database is the only difference. This is called offline method. So I'm going to execute this scenario a little fast. Okay, now I'm again deleting users DBF file. Now I lost users DBF file. Let me go to the SQL. Yeah, this is the SQL command. Let me execute this query. So this is showing available. This is showing online. Let me execute. First, let me execute the verification step. So I was able to execute it because I have the data in SDA. So I need to clear this. I'm still able to get it. Let me see my database status. Read write. Okay. Now by just executing all these queries, at no point of time I'm able to identify that I lost my users DBA file, but users are keep on complaining that they are not able to access DBA file. So the only option that I have is just to bring down the database and then start up. So now it is complaining that it cannot lock particular DBA file. Now I come to know that okay, there is a physical DBA file that is missing in my database, so I can just verify it. Okay, now I lost this particular DBA file. Now I come to know that I have to restore and recover this particular DBA file. So let me also verify the status before. Okay, now this particular DBA file is still showing online. So let me go back to RMAN session and restore it. So I want to explain another difference here. In the previous scenario, when my data file is in online, I'm not able to execute the same set of queries. During that time, I got an error saying it cannot obtain exclusive entry on data file 4. So during that time, I have to go back to my SQL session and make my DBF file offline. Then only it allowed me to restore and recover my data file. But if you see here, I did not make my DBF file offline, but I just queried here the status. It is still showing online, but I'm able to execute the restore and recovery operations for DBF file 4. Okay, this is because earlier my database is open and it is up and running, but now the database is in mount stage, and during mount stage, I can restore and recover my DBF file without bringing it offline. Okay, now it shows that it brought my data file also online. It is actually no need to execute, but just to show you the difference, I just gave this command. Let me go back here and let me execute the verification steps. At this point of time, my database is in mount stage, so I have to open my database. And let me execute the verification steps as my database is up and running. Okay, now my data file is available. Now my data file is online. So let me query data from Scott just to verify that everything is working fine. I am able to access Scott schema. Let me also create some test table. Okay, I think it is already there. Okay, let me create it. Okay, now I'm able to create a test table in the tablespace users, and this users tablespace contains a DBF file users. So that means I have successfully restored and recovered my users DBF file. So I'm executing this query just to purge my recycle bin because my recycle bin is on. So whenever I drop my uh, table from the database, its reference will be there in the recycle bin. So just to avoid that, I purged my recycle bin. Okay. So now this is the fourth scenario. This completes the fourth scenario. So till now we have discussed if we need to go for the complete database restore and recover, what are the different steps? If we lost any system DBF file, what is the restore and the recovery steps? And if we lost any non-system DBF file, what are the restore and recover commands? And in that scenario, we saw two different situations. One is online method and one is offline method. Okay. Now, let me discuss the next scenario. Now, assume that now I'm going to take up. Till now, I have created the issue by just dropping the DBF files. Now, these are all physical entities. Now I'm able to drop these DBF files. Now let's assume restoring and recovering a logical part. in a database, the logical part is table space. Consider a table space. Now, if I want to restore and recover a table space, what are the different RMAN commands that I need to use? And what are the different steps that I need to use to create the issue? And how do I verify whether the issue is resolved or not? Okay, so the present now I'm going to take up a table space restore and recover operation. Okay, in my test database, I'm just taking up the same users table space. In the users table space, there is only one DBF file available. Okay, so this table space, if I want to create an issue for restore and recovery of this particular table space, the only thing I can do is to drop the data file that belongs to users table space. Suppose I assume that in a real-time scenario and in a real production environment, the table space might be containing number of DBF files. It may or may not be with a single DBF file. Okay, assume that you have a user's table space which contains a number of DBF files, and you lost some multiple DBF files, the number of DBF files that belongs to the same table space. Let's say the table space users has got 10 DBF files with users 01 to users 10. Okay, out of these 10 DBF files, let's assume that you lost 5 DBF files, user 01, user 02, user 03, user 04, and user 05. Okay, so you can have the multiple ways to restore and recover this situation. You can individually restore and recover DBF files 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, but there is a logical relation for these DBF files with the table space. Okay, all these tables DBF files that belong to a single table space. So during that situation, you can just use your table space restore and recover instead of individual DBF files. Okay, so first let me create that issue, and then we will go ahead with table space restore and recover. Okay, so now I'm connected to user sys. Okay, now my user table space is online. Let me also execute different other queries to show you the status. Okay, so this is from VDAL table space. One is from DBA table space. The other one is from VDAL table spaces. Okay, so this is the query to just see what is the DBF file that contains in user's table space. So this is the query just to see the DBF files that belong to the user's table space status. Okay, so here in my demo database, I have only one DBF file, but as I explained, whenever we are going for a table space restore and recover, you might be missing a number of DBF files that belongs to that same table space. Okay, now for creating the issue, I'm going and deleting the users table space, users DBF file. Here I'm removing the users DBF file, but let's say if I have multiple DBF files that belongs to the users table space, I can just delete all the DBF files that belongs to the table space. Okay, okay. Let me use the same query here. Okay, now I deleted DBF files, all the DBF files that belongs to the users table space. Okay, now let me connect to SQL session, and I need to identify now the issue. Okay, now user table space is online. I'm just trying to execute the same set of commands. It is still available. Fine. Now I'm going to execute a query which is using the user table space. Okay. Now let's see. Let me create another test one. So the purpose of executing this command is I'm using the tablespace users tablespace. When I'm trying to use the users tablespace, what is the error that I'm getting? So it is complaining that it is missing some of the DBF files that belongs to the users tablespace. Okay. Now I need to restore and recover my tablespace. Okay. So for that, I have to first bring down my users tablespace. Okay. Now if you see here, it is complaining that it cannot bring down the user's tablespace. Okay. Now shut down about. I stop my database and now started my database. Okay. So it is complaining that it cannot find the DBF file. Let me make my DBF file offline. So in the mount stage, I cannot bring my tablespace offline. Okay. Now we created an issue and we identified issue, and the issue is with the user's table space. And now I come to know that I need to restore and recover user's table space. Now go back to the RMAN session. Okay. Now here I'll execute the different steps that needed for restoring my user's table space. Restore table space users. Now these are the set of commands that I use to restore my table space. Get the difference between the different commands used earlier and now. Here now I'm using a table space option, restore table space. Let's wait for 1 or 2 minutes. It will complete the restore and recover operation. Now my database is open. Let me go and verify. So now I'm executing different verification steps. Now my database is up and running. So user table space is also online. So the user table space has the number 4. So DBF file is available. DBF file status is also online. Now let me create some table. Okay, so now I'm going to create one table in using the table space that I just recovered, just to make sure that it is working fine. Now I'm able to create my table also. That means I have successfully restored and recovered my user's table space. Okay, so this is the fifth scenario. how to restore and recover a table space. If the table space contains multiple data files, and if we lost some of the data files that belongs to a single table space, this is the restore and recover steps that we adopt. Okay. So the next scenario is it is something tricky to understand, but try to understand. The situation is let us say I have a table space or a data file, and after creating that table space I have not done any backups. That means I do not have any backups to restore that particular DBA file if I lost. Okay, but during that situation also we will be able to restore our database. The simple word for this is how to get back a data file which has no backups. Okay, so I'm just trying to restore a DBA file which has no backups. Okay, now let me first create a issue and then identify the issue. Then we will try to see how to restore, because we do not have any backups, but we need to restore and recover that particular DBA files. Okay, now for that I'm going to create a new table space. Create table space test underscore ts data file home Oracle app. Where this is for testing purpose, so I'm just creating a table space with the data file test underscore ts with the size minimum 5 MB I'm allocating. Okay, now my table space is created. Now let me also create some tables in this table space. Okay, I'm going to create table space test underscore ts, because I'm exclusively giving this particular table space which is created now. Select star from. Now the table is also created. Let me query the data. Okay, table name is test. Okay, now I'm able to query the data as well. Now if you see, after creating this particular table space, I have not made any backups. So I do not have any backups available. Even then, I'm able to restore and recover my last DBF file. Okay, now let me create a situation again, because as of now you are sure that I have created this particular table space just now and I have not made any backups. Now I'm directly going and deleting this particular DBF file. Okay, now I'm deleting this particular DBF file. Okay, let me connect to SQL Plus. Now let me execute different queries. Okay. Okay. I'm able to query. Now cleared shared pool. Okay, if you see here, that test segment is in the table space test underscore ts. Okay, now I'm going to create another table in the same table space which I lost now. Okay, now it is complaining that data file 8. So it is marked as data file 8 and it cannot find the DBF file. Now my job is to restore and recover this particular data file 8 because we do not have any backups for this data file. Okay, now let me go back to the RMAN session where I'm going to execute different other commands to restore and recover the lost DBF file. Okay, before that, first let me start my database with mount state. Okay, now connected to RMAN. I'm executing commands. Database data file 8 because I know this particular data file that I'm missing is data file 8. So I'm directly using data file number. Okay, restore data file 8, recover data file 8, alter database data file 8 online. Now these are the steps I am going to execute to restore and recover the missing data file which does not have backups, earlier backups. Okay, now it finished recovering my data file. Let me go back and open my database. Now my database is open. So let me try to create a table. Now I'm able to create a table using the table space test underscore ts. Okay, that means that I have successfully restored my table space test underscore ts which does not have any backups. Okay, so this is the scenario. Now let me clean up what I have created now. So there might be, I have received so many questions for this particular scenario, but if you have any questions particularly related to this scenario, and you can mail me or you can ask me often after this session, so I'll be able to answer if you have any doubts. Okay, so now I'm done with this particular scenario as well. At this point, actually, there are few more other scenarios I want to explain. I just want to take 5 minutes break. Now the time is 11:35. We'll meet again at 11:40. Just take a small break and we'll be back. Let me continue with the other scenarios. So the next scenario I'm going to describe the next scenario that I'm going to describe is in case let us assume that you lost some DBF files, and when you're trying to restore the DBF files, instead of restoring it to the default location in the previous restore operations, you have not mentioned any path. You have directly specified that restore DBF file and the DBF file name or the number, whatever it is. But there are some situations where for before restoring a DBF file, you have decided that you want to restore the DBF file to a different location and not to the default location. Okay, so there are some options available for you to restore DBF files to a different location instead to the default location. Okay, now I'm going to take the same user's DBF file example, and I'm going to restore it to a different location. Okay, so for that, okay, so these are the different files available. Now I'm going to restore my I'll create data directory later, but now I'm going to delete this particular DBF file. Okay, deleted. Now, most of these steps were already executed, and I'm creating a table in tablespace users, and this table resides in Scott schema. So when I'm trying to create this table, it should give me an error message saying that it cannot find the users 01.dbf file. Okay, somehow it is waiting for something, and I cancel this operation as well. Let me see the data file status, because the data file that we deleted belonged to user stable space, and the DBF file number is 4. So let me make it offline. Okay, now this is offline. Now the present scenario is to restore my DBF file to a different location instead of default location. So I'm going to create another subdirectory here. So this is my subdirectory, and I have no files here. Now I'm going to restore my DBF file to this location. Okay. Now for that, let me take up the RMAN session. Now here I'm connecting to RMAN. Okay, run. So I'm going to specify new location here. So this is the new command that you need to identify now compared to the previous scenarios. Restore data file for switch data file for recover data file for SQL alter database data file for online. So these are the block of commands that I'm going to execute in order to restore my data file to a different location, and it is not to the default location. So let me execute this one. Okay. Now my data file 4 is online. Now let me go and verify whether it is restored to the new location. Okay. Now my user's DBF file is restored to a new location. Now let me see if I'm okay. I'm successfully able to create data that belongs to the user's tablespace. Okay. So this is how we restore data files to a different location. Okay. So these are all we have discussed various scenarios. How do we restore complete database and recover it? How do we restore system DBA file? How do we restore non-system DBA file, both in online and offline method? How do we restore table space? And how do we restore a data file that does not have any backups? And we also verified how to restore a data file to a different location. So these are the various scenarios that we saw till now. And the next scenario is all these scenarios till now we have discussed are complete recovery. So in no scenario you have used to open your database with reset logs. So every time you open your database normally. So from now I'm going to take up different scenarios, and for each scenario I may need to open my database with reset logs. So as I told you in the beginning of the session, that there is a new concept of incarnation. Whenever I open my database with reset logs, it starts a new incarnation. So when database is started with a new incarnation, the backups that are taken in old incarnation become invalid. So when the database is started with the reset logs, you need to go with complete full database backup. Okay. There are some situations where by just setting the previous incarnation, you will be able to restore your database, but these are all very different situations that you need to understand. What is the situation that you can set the incarnation, and what are the backups that are available for restore and recover operations. Okay, so you should be very careful when you are working with incarnations. So for the present scenario, I'm just taking up losing a control file. Okay, suppose if I lost my control file, what are the restore and recovery situations that I am going to work on. Am I able to open my database without reset logs or not? So all these situations that we are going to see now. Okay. Okay. So first, let me. Okay. Let me first describe control file locations. Okay. So these are the two locations where I have my control files. Okay. Now I'm going to manually create some issue. Creating an issue means I'm going to manually delete these two control files. Okay. Now these are the two control files that my database is working with, and I'm going to delete these two control files. Now I do not have any control files. Let me list. Okay. Now I do not have those control files. Okay. Now let me see the status of the database now. Okay. So it is still up and running, but it might be in, yes, maybe it is trying to shut down or whatever it is. Let me connect to the database. Okay. Now let me create some table in. Just give me a second. I got a call. Okay, I'm back. So we are discussing to create a table, table space users as select star from. Okay, the table is created. The only thing I want to mention here is that whenever I'm going to create a table, it is an operation with the metadata and the actual table spaces. At this point of time, there is no checkpoint involved or nothing. I mean, there's no interaction with the control file, so I will be able to create this table. We'll be able to see the issue when we are trying to see something with the control file. Okay, so let me see. I'm able to do switching log file as well. Fine. Now I need to because when I lost my control file, I need to first restore my control file. So when I have to restore my control file, I need to shut down the database, and I need to bring down bring up my database to no mount stage. So in no mount stage, the control file is not read from the location. So only when I'm trying to mount the database, the control file will be read, and it will now verify. It will then verify the location whether it is the control file is available or not. Okay. Now let me shut down my database. Okay. Now my instance is down. Okay, so at this point of time, we have created an issue that my control files are not available, and I stopped my database. Now, let me start my database. Okay, so now my database is just started. when it is trying to locate the control file, it is saying that it cannot identify the control file. So this is the point where I identified that the control files are lost. Okay, now go back to your RMAN session and see what are the various steps that you can try to restore and recover your database. Okay, now this is a command I'm connecting to RMAN. Okay, now here if you see, you might be working with different database when connected to the catalog. So the catalog database might be used as a catalog database for different other database as well. In our test environment, we have only one database which is using RMAN catalog database as a catalog database. Okay, now if you are working with multiple databases, you need to set first what is the DB that you need to work with. Okay, so you need to identify the DB ID for that particular database for which you are going to work. Okay, so just before starting my restore operation, I need to identify the database and its DB ID. So as I was working with different other scenarios, let me take up the DB ID which I need to set. So this is the DB ID of my database. First I need to set DB ID. Okay, so this is the DB ID. Now I'm using restore control file. Okay, so control file is restored. Now I will be able to mount and open my database. Alter database mount. Now let me try to open my database. Okay. Now when I try to open my database, it is particularly saying that you need to open your database with reset logs option. Okay. Now it is actually saying you must open reset logs or no reset logs option for database to open. Okay. First, let me try with the no reset logs option where it is allowing me to open my database or not. Okay, so it is not allowing me. Let me execute the same command as SQL command. Sometimes. Okay, so when I'm using no reset log option, it is saying that recovery using the backup control file option must be done. Okay, so I need to now open my database with reset log. So let me also see if after recovering, because here I have just used restore operation. Let me see if it needs any recovery in order to enable me to open my database with the no reset logs option. Okay, so recover database. Because my database is now using a restored control file, and that restored control file doesn't know anything about the different operations that have been performed. So it is now listing all the cataloging. It is registering all the backups available with the restored control file. Okay, now let me see if I will be able to open my database. No reset logs. Okay. So it's saying must use reset logs option for database to open. Okay. Now there is no other option for me except opening my database with the reset logs option. Okay. Now at this point, after my database is running with the sequence number, so after opening my database, it will be reset to 1. So I'm also listing here. So there are 2 incarnations here. I'm opening my database with reset logs. Now my database is open. Let me see. Okay, so now my sequence number is reset to 1. So in the RMAN session, okay, so let me exit and connect again. Okay, so when you try to connect to RMAN, now it is now saying new incarnation of database registered in the recovery catalog. And see the new incarnation. There are earlier 2 incarnations. Now there are 3 incarnations available. The present running incarnation is 1067. So if you see the status column here, it will clearly shows you what is the present incarnation that is running. So the present incarnation that is running is 1067 and it is the current. So the DB ID is same for all the incarnations. And these are the other incarnations are one is 1.8 and one is 2, and the status of this incarnation is parent. So sometimes the status might be orphan as well. So as of now, in these situations, you will be able to use any backups, even if you set these 2 incarnations, incarnation 18 and incarnation 2, because with this incarnation, these 2 incarnations are parents. So the parents means those incarnations can be valid, and even if you set that incarnation, you should be able to restore your database using the previous backups. Okay, if your status shows that it is orphan, then unless you set or you change the incarnation, you will not be able to restore the some of the backups, restore the database from the old backups. So now my database is up and running. Let me verify the status. Okay, now my database is up and running in the read mode. So this is how you do in case if you lost any control files. You have the option only to open your database with the reset logs option. So there is no other option when you restored a control file from the backups available. Okay. So we have to discuss now restoring online redolog files and incomplete recovery. So these are similar, but let me take up one by one. For that, I need to restore my database. I just need to restore from the cold backup. So it may take 3 to 5 minutes for me to prepare my environment for these 2 scenarios. So just I'll keep session open. Just I'll be back in 3 minutes. Meanwhile, the backups will be restored. Okay. Now my environment is ready for next scenario. So in this scenario, we're going to see an incomplete recovery. So I'm going to create an issue by just dropping the or deleting the redo log files. So online redo log files. So why do we treat it as an incomplete recovery? All the transactions that we are doing are recorded in online redo log files. So whenever we are losing online redo log files, we have some of the transactions recorded in the online redo log files, and we will not be able to get that data. So we need to open database with the reset log. So we are losing that committed or uncommitted data from the online redo log files. Similarly, you have some base backup available, and after base backup you have, let us say, 100 archive logs generated. If any of these archive logs are missing, you will not be able to recover your database completely to the point, to the latest point. So then you should go for the incomplete database recovery. So now in this situation, in this scenario, I'm assuming, or I'm deleting all my redo log files, and then I will see how do I try to recover it. So I just want to show different options as a part of this scenario. So I might be using until time, until SCN, and until sequence. So all these are different ways that you can do your incomplete recovery based on your situation. So when I'm taking up until time, until sequence, until SCN, I will tell you how to find the exact time that you need to recover, and how to find the sequence, and how to find the SCN for your restore and recovery purposes. So this is the only toughest part to find, to which point you have to restore. Otherwise, the other things like restoring commands and recovery commands are very simple, but identifying the issue and identifying the point to which you have to restore your database is very much important in this scenario. So let's see. Let's first see my database. So this is my database. So let me see. Members status. Okay, so this is the status of my online redologs. The thread number is 1. I have 3 groups. Let me also see log files. So these are the different online redolog files that I have in different groups. Okay, now I'm going and deleting all the online redolog files while my database is up and running. So this is a place where I have all my redologs. Okay, now I'm going to delete all these redologs. Okay, I do not have redologs in this directory. Okay, now let me connect to database again and see. Okay, so these are the 3 different members, and let me also see my database status. This is still in read write mode. I'm going to switch. Okay, now if you see at this point of time, it is not able to switch. Okay, I'm just cancelling this operation, and again I'm trying to see the status of various log files. Okay, so this is the present status now. Okay, now I'm planning to do a restore from the backups available, and because I have lost some of the online video log files, I should go for incomplete recovery. So to go for incomplete recovery, I need to find out what is the recent or latest sequence number available. Okay, first shut down my database. Okay, Now start up. Okay, fine. So it is saying that it cannot identify or it cannot locate online redo log that belongs to thread 1. The redo log is 3, but there are other redo log files as well missing. So it is same like one or complete online redo log files missing. So let me try to restore and recover this particular database. Okay, so there is a query for me to identify what is the sequence that I need to bring my database back. Okay, now if you see this particular query, here I have got sequence number and reset logs SCN number. So these details I'm going to use for my complete restore and recovery operations. Okay, so this particular query is used to find these details. There is other way of finding this particular SCN and sequence number from the RMAN. I have these backups. Let me also take details. Okay, so list backup of database, it gives me a detailed output of what are the different files available as a part of this backup, and what is the checkpoint time, and what is the SCN number that I have, and this also gives me the backup set details and all these details. So from these details also I should be able to find out to which SCN number, to which time I need to uh, bring the my database to a point in time recovery. So in a forget about all this. In a practical scenario, you're working on some database and you have identified some issue with the database, and you have finally decided that you have to go for a point in time recovery. So there are different situations that you analyze. So is it a point in time recovery based on time, or based on SVN, or based on sequence? Okay, so if there is no details that you know about the instance happened, or somebody asked you to recover your database till a point in time, like if somebody needs a database till yesterday, you can just specify that time and date and time, and you can recover your database to particular time and date. If somebody might have done some wrong operation or dropped some database objects today, you can just today, and you know the time also, and you need to bring your database to the point before dropping that particular database object. Okay, during that instance, you will go for time-based recovery. But if there are any situation that you know that okay, before actually doing some activity, you saw what is the present sequence and SCN number, and then you did some activity, and that activity corrupted your database. So as you already recorded that SCN sequence number, you will be able to restore and recover your database till that point. Okay, but there is other ways of finding these sequence and SCN numbers as well. Okay, this is the SCN number, and as I showed you in the earlier query, these details will also help us to find what is the sequence and SCN number to which I have to restore my database. Okay, now for let me try restore and recovery operation. So now I connected to database. restore database until, so I'm just using until SCN. So I'm using the SCN specified here because I'm trying to restore from this one. Okay. Recover database until SCN. So actually, I can give alter database open reset logs option, but at this point in time, I'm not giving this option just because I just want to show you the other options like using until time and until sequence number as well. So I'm just escaping that part, skipping that part. Now backup or copy of data file to found. Okay. So in this situation, I'm going to use sequence number. So that sequence number I got from this query. So here it is specified as 360 as the last sequence number. I just add one more to that sequence number, and I'm trying to restore and recover my database. Okay, so time-based recovery is also done. Now I can start my database with reset logs option. Okay, but now I want to show you another option which we use for actually you can just ignore this error because we were able to restore to the point, but it is saying that there is some archive log missing, but as we are doing a point in time recovery, we were just ignoring these errors, and we will be able to open our database with the reset logs option. Now the final option that I want to show you is the SCN number. So whenever you want to find the SCN number, okay, first try to execute this particular query which is shown here. Okay, this particular query gives you the list of all the data files and also gives you the checkpoint number. Okay, so this is you consider if your database is inconsistent, and it will show you different checkpoint number. So you should always consider the first file name. The first file name is a system data file. Always consider a system DBF file and verify what is the checkpoint number. What is the last checkpoint number for this DBF file, and you should be able to restore your database to that SCN number. Okay. Now consider here it is 8272988. Just when you are trying to recover, add one to this and try to restore and recover. Now I am using again the same commands until actually there is another way of doing the point in time recovery using different options. In the earlier commands I used restore option and I specified till what time and till what sequence number, but here I am just giving a different kind of syntax. Set until SCN. So here it is 8271, but I am taking the latest one. I am adding one to it. Now I am specifying restore database and recover database. Okay, now I should be able to use SCN as well. Okay, let me finish this recovery as well. Then we will try to start the database with reset logs option. So if you consider here, we have three ways of doing point in time recovery. One is one with a sequence number, and sequence number is identified from the query shown here. This is the query that we use. So add one to the sequence number and you should be able to use that sequence number in the restore and recovery command. For that time it is up to your option to what time you have to restore and recover your database. You can just mention that time and you should be able to restore and recover your database till that point in time. But in case if your mentioned time is greater than to the last archive log generated, it might be sometimes specifying some error, but ignore that error. You should be able to open your database without any issues. And the third option is with SCN number. This SCN number is you will be able to find from the query shown here. So this query lists all the different data files with the checkpoint or last change number. Consider a system DBF file and corresponding to that identify the last change number, and for this last change number add one and use that number for restoring and recovering your database. Okay, now it is able to do restore and recovery till SCN number this one. Okay, so this is how we do point in time recovery. There is another last scenario that I want to explain. Let me quickly show you that as well. Okay, as we connected to RMAN, the last scenario is to restore archive logs. So for that you can use restore archive log from time sysdate -1. I want to restore all the archives from sysdate from yesterday's to till date. So let me see if it executes correctly or not. Okay, it is executing. So in this particular scenario, I'm just trying to restore all the archive logs that are generated from yesterday till today. So this is the last scenario. Okay, so after finishing the point in time recovery, let me also show you the other thing to open the database. Okay, so alter database open reset logs. So now my database is open with reset logs. Okay, now this confirms me that my database is now up and running, and it is running in archive log mode, and I have opened, and my sequence number is reset to 1. Okay, so this is how we do point in time recovery in various situations. So let me also see if I have got redolog files or not. See here. So if you see the same command I have executed earlier also. So here I have executed. So there the redologs are not created, but now the redologs are created. So I just want to give you this difference because whenever we open the database with the reset logs for a point in time recovery, then only the redolog files will be created. Okay, so this ends the session. So we have discussed almost various scenarios. Let me also recap once again what are the different scenarios that we have discussed. Um, we have discussed first what is the complete Oracle database restore and recovery, and then we have also discussed if we lost a system data file, how to restore and recover our database. If we lost any non-system data file, how to restore and recover database. There are two things. One is closed restore and recovery. Another one is open database restore and recovery. If we lost multiple data files that belongs to a table space, how to restore and recover. And if we lost some data file for which we do not have any backups, how to restore and recover. And we also saw one situation where we have to restore our data files to a different location. So these are all complete recovery. Coming to the incomplete recovery, we saw if we lost all control files, how to restore and recover control file from the existing backups, and restoring spfile. Actually, we have not done it as a practice, but it is a very simple command to restore spfile. And we also saw if we lost online redo log files or any of the archive log, how to restore and recover. In these scenarios, we saw various point in time recoveries. One is time based recovery, one is sequence based recovery, one is SCN based recovery. So all these three different types we have seen, and we were able to see that the online video logs are also created when we open the database with the reset logs option. And we are not practically done here for the temporary table space restoration, because it is very simple task. You can right away go and create a temporary table space and assign it to the table space and drop the old last temporary table space. That is a very simple thing. So I just skipped it in the demo. And the last thing that we saw is how to recover archive log files. That is also shown in the syntax here. Okay, these are all the various scenarios that we have discussed as part of this particular session. And in case if you have any doubts or you need any clarification, or if you need any detailed explanation on any scenario, you can always get back to me. or you can leave a comment to my mail ID. I'll be able to answer your doubts and questions. Thank you all for attending this session. I need some feedback from you all about these sessions. Just keep in touch, and in case any doubts, just let me know. I'll just clarify your doubts. Thank you very much for attending this session. Thank you all.